All right, welcome in everyone. This is the weekly forecast. This is starting August 18th, Sunday, and then going through the week. So we have the 18th, Monday, through the 24th of August. So we're already going into the third week of August here. We're wrapping up August. August always goes so fast. So, what else? Man, I've got kind of a mind block here. So today for energies, for the chakral energies, I have the sacral chakra and the heart chakra here, and this is a focus on protection and healing in both. So we are moving into Virgo season this week. We have the sun moving into Virgo on the 22nd. Hold on, let me just double check. Yep, we have the sun entering Virgo on the 22nd, and crazy enough, we also have the new moon in Virgo on the same day. So a lot of Virgo energy now moving into, the sun in Virgo. Virgo is kind of the healer sign. It does represent health, also like details and organization. So I felt kind of intuitively drawn to kind of put that energy out for everyone. Also protection right now. Overall, there's a lot of, it finally dawned on me, we are in the age of Aquarius now. We have been since November of last year. And Aquarius is really about shining the light on stuff that's not working, shining the light on things that aren't for the greatest good of the collective. And maybe if you haven't noticed, there is so much turmoil going on, in the collective, on the world stage in general, but there's a lot of disclosure happening. Things really are coming to the surface, like things that have been deceitful, lying, stealing, people doing things, like I said, not in the greatest good of people in general, are coming to the surface. There's a lot of new things that have just popped up, at least in my purview, and I do really felt this need to send protection energy to everyone right now. We really need to be discerning. We've been asked to be discerning for the last 6 years, and it's really getting even more intense. So 6 years ago, if we think before COVID, a lot of people were still trusting and not as discerning and allowing other people to guide them and tell them what to do and just kind of like not questioning things. But we are at a time in the world, in our reality, where we need to question everything. We need to really question everything and follow your intuition. Don't follow your head. Don't follow what other people are telling you. Don't just say, well, and I'm going to call it out just because it's a big focus right now. But let's say our governments, our cities are telling us something and we just go along. We go along to get along. We go along because that's what everyone does. And hey, they're our leaders. We need to trust them. But what are you feeling intuitively? If there's even a slight, I don't know about that, question, and don't do it. So, wanted to call that out. So let's dive into the astrology for the week, for the weekly forecast here. So we're going to be spilling in over a bit from last week. So we had a big focus on communication last week. We finally moved out of Mercury retrograde, but we have on the 18th, Mercury sextiling Mars. So again, things that were conversations or thoughts that were coming up last week are going to kind of continue this week. And there's something around these conversations that really we need to continue or haven't fully wrapped up or completed. And then on the 22nd, like I said, we have the sun entering Virgo. So this will bring a good shift to help us focus on things and details and organizing ourselves. Also, it's asking us to prioritize health. So if you're not doing well from a health perspective, this sun in Virgo is really going to shine the light on that. When the sun is in a sign, it's really just like when we think of the sun, it is like a light being shown on those attributes or those traits of that specific sign. So even though, you might not, be a Virgo sun sign, I believe that energy is still coming up for all of us and really shining that light in those areas of our life. So then the same day, new moon in Virgo, the new moon is about what do I want to bring in? So it's a focus on manifesting, setting intentions. With the Virgo energy, it's kind of like, how can we manifest new ways of thinking and strategizing to manifest? Also, this is going to bring some clarity, much needed clarity and energy around like renewal. Oops. So those were the top things I wanted to kind of talk about. Oh, the last thing, just kind of I added on as a PS. So on the 20th, Venus in Cancer, the moon moves into Venus and the moon will both be in Cancer on the 20th. So from the 20th, I think then the 20th through the 21st, that could help bring in some love and wealth, a little, little splash of that. So just wanted to call that out. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Let's dig into the reading here. So what are the foundational energies going on? We have the first chakra, Archangel Michael. Interesting. So this is the root chakra. So I lit the candles for the heart and the sacral, but there's something to call out for the root here. Broken heart, okay. And then angel of love. Oh, so definitely there's a foundational energies here, because a lot of, even though we think broken heart, I mean, that can tie to the heart chakra, relationships in general, in our connection to the physical experience really grounds down in the root. This is also like the root is the base of like creativity and sexuality. And when we think of like sexual energy, essentially it is the energy of creation. So if we have this area blocked, that is tied to, again, broken relationships, trauma, things like that. But I feel like archangels and just angels in general on both sides here around you, there is some protection going on. There's some help and support with healing this. Something could get triggered this week. But again, it's just look at it as, hey, I see you. I see I see the pain. I see the frustration or the anger or whatever it is. And set the intention of angels, Archangel Michael, help me integrate. Help me to show up for the pieces of myself that are still broken, that are still hurting, that are still in pain. How can I show up better for myself so that I can integrate and relieve and heal these parts of myself? And a lot of times it's really, at the root, it's taking the baggage off these parts so that they can continue on and feel free and not have to live in this, whether it's like a lot of times these parts are stuck in moments in time where you had trauma, and the trauma can be on a spectrum. So a lot of times people people hear, oh, childhood trauma, and they immediately like roll their eyes like, not everyone has childhood trauma. Well, trauma is literally on a spectrum. there's so many ranges. And what people don't get, they're like, oh, I grew up in a, a home that, had a roof over my head. My parents had good jobs, I had a decent childhood. But what people don't realize is, as an individual, you were born completely free, completely open, completely authentic. And if your family or your parents, again, if you had certain needs and desires, which is going to be different than your siblings, it's going to be different than your parents. And it's about the parents being curious and figuring out and understanding you as an individual to say, what does this child need from me? And it's going to be different than, again, your brother, your sister, or even themselves. So if your parents weren't able to do that, that essentially is trauma. Okay. And for the most part, that's probably showing up in your life and your relationships where your needs and desires aren't getting met. Or potentially as an adult, you don't even, if you really think of, well, what are my needs? Some people say, I don't have needs. Well, that's a red flag. That is a complete and utter red flag. And I would stay away from those people because if they're adults, out of their 20s, and they still don't understand their needs, if you want to sit in there with them and they're willing to do the work independently, that's another story. But a lot of people are not and aren't even aware of that. So, I'm rambling on, but obviously anything that comes out, I'm channeling, I'm intuitively getting message. So that message was meant for you guys, and it was there to help some of you, or all of you. So let's keep going. Definitely focus on love. To me, it could be a relationship, but it's more around within ourselves. And look at this. First card out is the Seven of Swords. So I definitely feel like we're lying to ourselves about our inner emotions, our inner blocks, our inner, again, traumas here. Six of Pentacles and the Hermit, the High Priestess. Wow, look at this, the Lovers. And I'm going to just take these two. So King of Pentacles, Eight of Pentacles. So, like I said, some of you are really, this is exactly what I talked about. You're lying to yourselves, and I think a lot of people aren't aware of this, but there is an impact to your life, and the impact to your life has been an imbalance in your connections. Usually this is a sign of people who obviously don't have the healthy boundaries or ability to understand their needs and be clear about their needs and understand that, hey, this person can't do that, then I'm gonna, this isn't the right relationship for me. A lot of people don't know how to decipher that themselves, or have the strength or detach enough to understand, like, this relationship isn't healthy for me. But I like this Hermit here because there's this new, like, all of a sudden awareness about this dynamic within yourself. Like, there's something that's going to come to the surface where you're going to get some insight about yourself and your patterns and your dynamics, and how that has kind of definitely complicated your life, but potentially too, this has caused some heartbreak around people who are just not on the up and up. This can be manipulators, liars, cheaters types of people, or people that just crumb you and are constantly trying to get away with something. Like, they're trying to get away with not giving you fully what you need. They're always trying to give the minimum, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I'm getting here. But I mean, look at, I just noticed this. But the Hermit and the High Priestess, you have the two highest spiritual energies from a feminine and masculine in the deck that came out side by side. This is huge. And then the Lovers. So the Lovers also, has on the card the feminine and the masculine divine energies here, and this is really about coming together in union. But to me, this is more about within the self, and there is this harmonization happening between these aspects of yourself that are really coming together and alchemizing. I mean, this is huge spiritual expansion here with the Hermit and the High Priestess. The High Priestess is really too about like a firm understanding or intuitive knowing about the self and the experience and kind of the whys and the hows from a higher perspective. So I really feel like something big is brewing this week from a spiritual standpoint. And this could impact, this King of Pentacles could reference a certain relationship and about something that needs some focus. And the focus to me, whether it's this is you or a partner or someone in your life, is there's a big focus on the material world and or money or work or something like that. And it's like, I think there's this big, like I said, a new awareness that you have about this situation. This could also be yourself, about you're too externally focused all the time. You're not able to like go deep. You're not able to access your emotional body. And when people are too externally focused, really, you know, I say those people kind of walk through life on automatic. They kind of don't understand the higher meaning of who they are, why they do the things they do, the choices they make, and how like all the pieces from a higher divine perspective kind of come together holistically to kind of create you, to create your life, why you are where you are, and how to move forward in a better way. So there's something about new perspectives here. All right, we have the King of Wands, the Five of Pentacles, and the Page of Pentacles. So there is, you know, to me, there's been some hardship here with the Five of Pentacles. There's been a focus on hardship, and it's almost like, but it's like finally there's this lesson here. There's an understanding of why you had to go through this. This could also be around like really trying to do the work around a lack mentality. And why am I not, currently in my life, I'm not in a place of abundance or wealth that I thought I would be. I'm frustrated about this and I want to shift this energy. So it's really having the learner's mind. This is kind of the apprentice here. So you're willing to be curious about the whys. You're starting to ask the whys and how do I move forward differently? Where in the past, you know, you were just doing the grind here and just like, well, I want to make money. So this could be something like the lesson here is, you know, I have this belief that I was programmed with that I need to work my ass off to make a living. That if I want to be successful, I got to work, you know, 60-hour work weeks. And maybe there's a belief, a really deep belief that I'm not worthy of wealth. Like, who am I kidding? Like, who am I to think I'm going to have, you know, let alone $100,000 in my account, but, you know, 100 million in my account. Like, that's just silly or something like that. But this King of Wands, if you see here, the King of Wands is kind of like looking backwards. And I feel like the King of Wands is really, again, looking backwards at his past to try and understand and gain the wisdom and the understanding to harness the energy in the now to manifest something different. So I like that. the Hanged Man, Six of Cups, and the Eight of Swords. So this is confirming, like, this goes back to childhood. This goes back to a program or belief that you grew up with because it's things that your parents affirmed, or it's just the energy in the household around money or wealth, or just even connection here. The Five of Pentacles can be about feeling out in the cold, like not feeling that nurturing, loving energy. So if you look back, like I always say, like ask the question of like, look back at as a childhood and what was the energy around money in your household? Like, did you always feel like there wasn't enough? And your parents made that very clear. And like, we can't afford this and we're poor. And if your parents even said the word we're poor, I mean, that's going to be a deep program that's going to block you from wealth and abundance. So there is an ask here of, this is like very stuck energy, the Hanged Man and the Eight of Swords. So you've been really stuck by this, these things from your past. It has really, and you've been in denial about it, like you're blind to this because this is very unconscious stuff, especially beliefs. So just catch yourself. Like, what are the things that even come out of your mouth or your thoughts? Like, do you find yourself constantly saying, I can't afford that, I can't afford that, I can't afford that, or I don't have money, I don't have money, something like that. But really what you're being called to do is just become aware of these things. And the more you're aware of your words and your actions and your behaviors, you can then change them. Knight of Cups, the Hierophant, and the Three of Wands. So I feel like there's new things on the horizon for you. There's definitely new, better things on the horizon that are coming in. Definitely things around commitment as well. This could be around love, relationships. Maybe this is around, you know, some of you, this is more around relationships and dynamics and like not ever attracting the right person. And again, you're shifting a pattern here, and the shift is going to bring in love and bring in people that are actually willing and able and want to commit to you or to commit to a relationship. There's just some focus around commitment here, like in general. Maybe you have a lack of commitment to your life because you just are always on the fence about like, you know, nothing ever seems to like resonate with me or vibe, or like, I don't know, like there's a lot of like sitting on the fence, kind of like, you know, nothing just seems to fit here. So what is this Knight of Cups, Hierophant? Let's get another. Justice. Yeah, things are gonna kind of balance out a bit. If some of you in your childhood as well, if you dealt with some sort of religious trauma, like families that were really religious, that really had deep programs that caused a lot of general suffering, that could be also like a karmic contract that you signed up to kind of like take this on and work through. But it's definitely like committing to like working through these things, like doing the work for yourself. We talked about that at the beginning. It's time to really shine the light on you, what's going on inside of you, you know, instead of just like always being externally focused. What does the King of Wands have to say here? So for some of you too, there's a message here around people who always need attention, or always like there's a very hyper focus on success. And like I need to be successful, and I'm not worthy, or I'm not doing good in my life if I'm not successful. And there's like this definition of what success is to you, and I think that's caused you, again, a lot of suffering. Potentially you've never reached that, so that's caused you a lot of suffering, and like just feeling like, you know, I haven't made it, I haven't been successful. And there's this like, this is deep from childhood as well, like, I have to be somebody, I have to be successful, and I'm only successful if XYZ, right? And this has really kept you stuck too, and caused you a lot of suffering. So there's this, again, this need to really zoom in on, why do this is the root of your suffering, okay? So zooming in on that, like looking at if that's you, of this pain or suffering because I haven't accomplished XYZ and in my life, and I felt like I had to do that, and that's causing me a lot of suffering. But that's putting a lot on yourself and being hard on yourself. And there again, there's this shift needed. So I think too, there's something about this hyper focus on the external and what that needs to look like, and doing the work to kind of break that down layer by layer. Yeah, this requires a huge transformation. Like this needs to change. It's like shedding the old skin, shedding the old identity here. It's like rebirthing into a new. Because there's a very, Four of Pentacles as well. Like, so this message is for people, this is really for people who are too externally focused, who are so focused on money, so focused on success, so focused on my life has to look like this, otherwise I haven't made it. And you almost feel like, how did I get myself here? How do I actually bring in what I want? But I think you're focusing on the wrong things here. There's a lot of, you know, to me, this is a root around needing to feel stable. And the only way you feel stable or safe is if you built this vision around you of money or a house, or, you know, it needs to look like this. I need a job that, you know, is very successful, and that, you know, that I'm accomplished and I'm a business owner, and I don't have any of that. So yeah, definitely Death card here. This has to change. And it might be difficult here to work through this, because for you to reprogram yourself and get out of this like loop of this unconscious mindset, it's going to be hard. But you know what? You're being called to do this, to transform and to learn the lessons, and then allow new things to come in that actually are going to bring you new things. But maybe it's not in the way you, again, the old you had to have it look. It's almost like it had to look like this. And that was actually the key, or the gap that was preventing anything from coming in. All right, guys, that was a deep one. And usually my readings are, I mean, we're diving into the deep of the unconscious, of the divine here. If you come here to just get your fortune read about your physical life, then this isn't the right place. But if you're here to dive into the spiritual aspects, to really understand what's going on at all the layers, not just at the tip of the iceberg, this is my purpose and how the readings unfold. So thanks for joining in. Enjoy your week. And I'm working on the August readings, so those should start coming out next week. But otherwise, I will see you in the next reading. Or September readings. August is already out. So if you haven't seen those, go take a look. All right, bye for now.